From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. The Broncos get their first win of the season. To help us break it down, the one and only Steve Atwater. What up, At?
Hello, Ryan Edwards. Hello, Mr. Allbright. What's the word? What's going on?
It's good to see you, man. Very serious today. I don't know why. The Broncos win, though, 16-9. How you feeling about that win?
Hey, a win is a win is a win. And when you've played in the NFL, even if you haven't played in the NFL, you should know this. I'm sure Benjamin Allbright knows this. Sometimes you never know. You never know what it's going to look like. My prediction was we win by much more than that. But guess what? We'll take it. Counts just the same.
I mean, it does, and you get to the end of the season.
You don't feel good about it. You don't feel good about it.
Honestly, after watching it again, I'm okay with it. I think if you look at these as sort of like steps in the process of what you're eventually trying to become, then as long as you're moving forward, that really all matters. Now, there's some things that I think people are frustrated about, especially the penalties, the red zone. But I still felt like there were some steps forward for this team. It's just the sloppiness. And I think that's where we sit here, we break this thing down. It's like, okay, well, they stepped forward, they got a win, but they were sloppy in the process.
When you talk about the number one offense in the NFL in yards per drive, number 8 offense total in yards, they're just not finishing. They're getting down there, they're fumbling the ball at the 1, they're throwing the ball 3 times from the 2. It's not working once they get inside the 10, and they're going to have to figure that out. They're going to have to take that next step and figure it out. Now, there are other things to clean up. They've got to streamline the process of getting the play in there. We had 2 delay game penalties all last year. We're just having too many of those. The crowd, counting it down and all that kind of stuff.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, some of the offensive guys liked it. They laughed. Some of the defensive guys thought it was embarrassing. But, there are things to clean up. But isn't that a good thing? You haven't arrived. There are things to fix. You can go to the tape, look at those things to fix. You know what you need to practice. But at the same time, there's also some intriguing signs. The defense is allowing, 12 points a game right now? The offense is number 1 in yards per drive. I mean, those are pretty good stats. Yeah,
I mean, everybody wants it to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect, even when it looks really good. It's not going to be perfect. So they definitely have some things to work on. Like you said, that red zone, that's a problem. And they know that, though. The good thing is they're aware of what's going on. And, man, I'm glad that I don't get scrutinized like that. Ryan, you guys don't get scrutinized the way that Coach Hackett gets scrutinized. He gets a win, but it didn't happen the right way, so we got all these different complaints. Hey, a win is a win. At the end of the day, a win is a win. Now, obviously, it's the 49ers. We can't play like that because the Niners –
better football team.
They play,
and that's what it's about.
Level.
It's the standard, right? It's an understanding of what the standard needs to be to beat better teams.
But remember last year when we went into Dallas, nobody thought we were going to win that game.
Well, I thought we were going to win. But
yeah, Ben
I
said
called a blowout. Yeah, I called it a Denver blowout.
This dude is crazy.
On the air. I was like, it's TD. It was me, Terrell, Big Al, Dave. Everybody, we were doing it, and I was like, I don't even need the points. Broncos going to win outright. You don't even need to give me the 10 points. Broncos going to win.
Okay, all right.
Based on the little insider information there for him, but whatever. I'm not going to.
It worked, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But we just never know, right? Going into that game, and then guess what? We didn't follow up. We didn't follow that up, though, right? We didn't continue to play that well over the coming weeks, and that's what I think you need. You need to build on something and to where you can be consistent every single week. Now, the offense has been consistent and, getting drives. Russell, he wasn't as accurate. He didn't have as many completions as last week, but the offense still overall moved the ball fairly well. Defense has been outstanding just in terms of them not giving up points, making plays when they have to make plays. Some of those fumbles are going to go our way one of these times, man. But I think we're on the right path. We just got to keep chopping wood, man. We're going to get there.
You don't have to be the best team in the country. You just got to be the best team in the stadium that day. And that's the thing. You can keep building on it, and as long as you're the best team in the stadium that day while you continue to build, you got an opportunity to get to the playoffs and maybe make some noise.
Right. There's an acknowledgement there that the Broncos had the talent to beat the 49ers, right? This isn't where we have historically looked at a matchup where a team's coming to Denver or otherwise and said, well, the Broncos, they need everything to go right to have a chance in this one, right? We've sat in here breaking down some of the games against the Chiefs over the last several years saying, yeah, if everything goes right, if they get a pick 6 and a punt return touchdown, I think they have a chance in this one. Maybe. As long as the offense doesn't turn the ball over multiple times. But again, that's not the case here. The Broncos, talent-wise, I think are in it, but they can't let themselves down. And that's what they're doing. And I think Broncos fans, it's just frustrating to watch a team not realize its full potential.
Yeah, it is. And, we didn't really get a chance to see any of the starters during the preseason. So we didn't know what we were going to get that first game of the season. But we got a loss. Everybody. Did you pick that as a loss too?
The Seattle? No, I didn't pick that one. I had Broncos win there.
Yeah, we all thought that we were going to go in there and play a great game, but we weren't hitting on all cylinders. The discipline wasn't there, but we had a lot of good things in that game though that we got to pull from and continue to build off of that. So it's a process. It's a process.
Well, I mean, I think we're seeing the midst of the process. I want to touch on the defense though. And I'm really glad you brought that up. The front four for the Broncos looks tremendous right now. I still think there's a couple things to clean up, but for all the hand-wringing about the coaches, I think Ejiro Evero is doing a fantastic job right now.
Yeah. I think all the coaches are doing a really good job. Even Coach Hackett. I know everybody's on him about getting the play calls in faster. Guess what, man? It takes a minute. His first time doing all of these different tasks. I think he's doing a great job. But yeah. Ejiro Evero, man, he's balling. He got those boys playing fast, flying to the ball, being physical, and that's what it's going to take. That's going to do it, especially against 49ers. 49ers, they play fast.
Well, but one of the things we talked about leading into the Houston game was they're going to try to test the Broncos with speed. You're going to be without Justin Simmons. Eventually, they were out with Pat Surtain, and you think that would have opened things up there for Davis Mills in that offense to say, you know what? They got backups playing up there in the secondary. We're going to take advantage of that. The Broncos defense didn't blink.
They didn't give them the opportunity to. The pass rush is starting to come through. It started to come into its own. They did have that one play that was They did have the one play that was a decent sized chunk that they got out of that. But beyond that, I felt like they really didn't have much chunk plays. It was mostly nickel and dime type stuff. And I like what the defense is doing. They're dialing up the pressure. Chubb was kind of more of a factor, I think, in week one, but Gregory's been worth every penny. I mean, he looked pretty good in week one. He looked a lot better in week two. And as we go along, I think he's going to evolve. He's one of the top 3 or 4 guys in the league right now at pressure percentage per snap. That's a good sign. And if the front end and the front seven are getting home, it takes some of the pressure off that back end right now. It takes some of the pressure off those guys. So
big time. It works. It goes hand in hand. You can have the best corners in the world. And I think Pat Surtain is one of those guys where he's one of the few guys in the NFL that if your D-line isn't getting home, he still can be effective as a cornerback. But most corners and most defensive backs, period, if you aren't getting any pressure with your defensive line, it's going to be a long day. And fortunately, we've been getting some pressure with the defensive line, edge guys, and that makes a world of difference for the secondary and how well they play.
And that's been a problem the last couple of years. So that's an encouraging sign as we move forward.
Well, it's a combination of that and the way they're playing against the run, too. And you're getting ready to face a 49ers team that is going to absolutely try to run on you. They're going to try, and they're down a couple of running backs, too, but it doesn't matter. That's just what that offense is built to do. So if you're doing a pretty decent job against the run, not getting gashed too bad there. You're getting pressure when they do drop back to pass. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of pressure off the secondary, and we've seen that flipped over the last couple of years. Is the other way around. It's like, hey, we weren't getting the pressure. The secondary's covering for a very long time, and guess what? You're also not stopping the run.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how when you flip the script on that and you bring the pressure and you can slow down the run, how much that changes almost everything else you do.
Yeah, and I think it's more fun for the guys, when you bring some pressures here and there and, the other team isn't expecting it, you get home and it's just a much more fun football game for the defensive side of the ball. Me personally speaking, I used to love when we bring pressure. We have some pressure mixed in there. Not every down. You can't do it every down, but we have it mixed in there and they don't really know when it's coming. Hey, everybody plays better.
Yeah, and to give a kudo to somebody nobody's giving a kudo to, Alex Singleton is getting on the pressure plays that he can get downhill, man. For a guy who made his bones as a sideline to sideline linebacker, he's getting down there and getting some pressure on the quarterback.
He's got a nose for the ball. He's a guy who's always flying to the ball. And some other guys, they're looking at who's trying to block them and trying to slow down. He's full speed. I see the ball carrier. I'm going to tackle him. That's what we got to have. 11 guys on defense thinking like that. All right, he's handing the ball off, or whoever's caught the ball, they have it down. Go get him. Nothing else to think about. Yep. Don't worry about who's trying to block you. Run through everything. Go get him.
Want to ask you before we get out of here about the penalties. We had 25 penalties in 2 games. And again, it's as a sharp juxtaposition for whatever people want to say. And Ben and I've talked about this, about the Vic Fangio regime. They did a good job when it came to not having a lot of penalties. So I think it's a little bit of a stark contrast, a little bit of a shock value for a lot of Broncos fans who aren't used to seeing the team commit a lot of penalties. Oftentimes when you and I have talked about this, you usually come from the player side of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even in this moment now, when you're talking about Coach Hackett, right? You're saying the players need to take ownership, and they've got to be the ones that curb this. Is it just that simple?
It is. It is. And players know that it's not the coach. Coach not even on the field. The players in. You got to play. You've gone over the 1,000. Well, I don't know how many times now. Maybe 300 times. You haven't gotten to 1,000 yet, but you've gone over time and time again. And you got to have the cadence down with the quarterback to where you're not going to jump off sides or guys hitting guys late and all that. You got to have the discipline to not do those things. And especially as the season goes on. Now, hey, all right, yeah, we got lucky. We won the second game, even though we had 13 penalties. We were in the first game. We should have won. We had 12 penalties, a ton of penalties. Now, you got to know that we can't continue to do that, right? We got to get better. We got to stop those. And most guys, once they do it, like, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. I could have prevented that somehow. But you got to be thinking about it, because if you're not thinking about it, got to jump off sides, or you let your emotions get the best of you when a guy pushes you and you go push him back, push him in the face mask or something. You saw what happened down with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With Mike Evans. Mike Evans got kicked out for a game. Yeah, and now that's going to cost the team. Yeah. Now I understand he's protecting his quarterback TB12, but can't do that, man. You can't do it. You gotta hold your cool.
Maybe Tom can send him one of those new $70 T-shirts that he's marketing on Twitter today.
Well, as long as they're not marked up to $75, I think that's
nice.
Dig it.
That's good. All right, Steve. Well, I appreciate your perspective on this. Appreciate your optimism. Sounds like you're picking a dub against the 49ers again.
Oh, man. I'm always picking my guys a dub, but it's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one. Yeah,
it's going to be a tough one. And, because you think back to how we've played the last couple of weeks, we've certainly moved the ball. I have confidence that our offense can move the ball. I got confidence that our defense can do well. So I think, man, if we can just put it together, we're going to be good. Because I don't see a lot of – now, special teams play better. They're still not where we need to be, but they certainly play better than they did week one. And if that continues, man, we got a great chance of winning this game.
All right. Well, I know you're a big Jimmy Garoppolo guy, so it'll be interesting for the Broncos to go up against him. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks to Steve Atwater for joining us on Broncos Country Tonight.
Denver's going to win! You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.